Ambassador Susan Mitchell stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber, her heart beating steadily despite the hundreds of alien eyes fixed upon her. The massive room, with its high crystal ceiling and floating platforms, held representatives from over 200 species. Today, they all watched her with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Distinguished members of the Council," she said, her voice clear and confident. "Earth thanks you for this opportunity to present our yearly progress report." She pressed a small button on her wrist device, and a hologram appeared above the chamber's central platform. The image showed a simple metal cube floating in space. The Zaxthor representative, a tall being with metallic scales and 4 arms, leaned forward. "We have seen human technology before. Ambassador, why waste our time with a simple metal box?" Susan smiled politely. "Please watch carefully." She pressed another button, and the cube began to glow with a soft blue light. In the next moment, it split into 8 perfect copies of itself, each one fully solid and real. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Zaxthor representative stood up so quickly that his chair fell backward. "Impossible. Matter cannot be copied like this." "What you're seeing isn't copying," Susan explained. "We call it quantum field manipulation. Each cube exists in its own quantum state, yet they're all connected. This is just a small example of what the technology can do." High above Earth's surface, Commander John Carter watched the Council meeting through a secure feed. He sat in his comfortable chair at the Earth Defense Force Command Station, a massive structure floating in orbit. The station's windows offered a beautiful view of the blue planet below, but his attention stayed fixed on the screen. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting unusual movement from the Zaxthor fleet near Jupiter's orbit." Carter straightened in his chair. "Show me." A new screen appeared, displaying dozens of red dots moving in an unusual pattern. The Zaxthor ships had been stationed near Jupiter as part of a standard diplomatic presence, but their new formation looked anything but diplomatic. "Get me a secure line to Dr. Rodriguez of the Quantum Research Division," Carter ordered, "and keep tracking those ships." Meanwhile, in an underground laboratory complex in Colorado, Dr. Maria Rodriguez was about to make history. She stood before a large machine that hummed with power, its core glowing with the same blue light as the cubes in Susan's demonstration. "Begin final test sequence," she ordered her team. The machine's hum grew louder, and dozens of screens lit up with data. "Keep the quantum field stable. We only get one shot at this." The experiment they were attempting had never been done before. If it worked, it would change everything they knew about space travel and defense. If it failed, well, that's why they were a mile underground. Back in the council chamber, the tension had grown thick enough to cut with a knife. The Zaxthor representative had called for an emergency session, and now most of the other council members looked at Susan with open suspicion. "Humanity has been on the galactic stage for merely 50 years, the Zaxthor declared. Yet they have advanced more quickly than any species in recorded history. This is not natural. This is not safe." Susan kept her composure, though inside she felt a growing concern. She had expected some worry about the demonstration, but this reaction seemed extreme. "The speed of our advancement comes from our ability to think creatively and work together," she explained. "We share our discoveries and build upon each other's work." "You expect us to believe that?" another council member called out. "No species advances this quickly without dangerous shortcuts or stolen technology." Before Susan could respond, her wrist device vibrated with an urgent message from Earth. She glanced down discreetly and felt her stomach tighten. The message was short but alarming. "Zaxthor fleet moving. Be careful." In his orbital command station, Commander Carter watched the situation with growing concern. The Zaxthor ships had formed into 3 distinct groups, each one positioned in a way that could cut off quick travel between Earth and its colonies. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "Dr. Rodriguez is on the line." Carter activated his screen, and Maria's excited face appeared. "Commander, we did it. The quantum field manipulation worked perfectly. We can now create stable corridors through space-time fat. She stopped, noticing his serious expression. What's wrong? We may have a situation developing, Carter said quietly. How quickly can your new technology be adapted for defensive purposes? Maria's excitement faded, replaced by understanding. The principles could be applied to our defense systems within hours. But, sir, this technology, it's more powerful than what Ambassador Mitchell demonstrated to the Council. If we reveal it, we might not have a choice, Carter replied, watching as more Zaxthor ships moved into position. Send everything you have to the defense grid team. I'll inform the ambassador that we might need to cut her presentation short. Susan was just finishing her defense of human technological advancement when she received Carter's warning. She looked up at the council members, seeing the fear and suspicion in their eyes, and made a quick decision. Distinguished members, she announced, I understand your concerns. Perhaps we should take a short recess, Toe. The chamber's emergency alarms cut her off, their harsh sound making everyone jump. Above the central platform, a new hologram appeared showing a massive fleet of Zaxthor ships moving through space. This is why we called for this session, the Zaxthor representative declared. While you distracted us with your demonstration, your military vessels were moving into attack position near our borders. Susan quickly checked her datapad. That's not true. Our ships are all in their assigned positions. It's your fleet that's moving. The chamber erupted into chaos as council members began shouting and arguing. Susan used the confusion to send a priority message to Earth. Diplomatic situation deteriorating. Zaxthor making false accusations. Prepare for possible hostile action. In her underground lab, Maria Rodriguez watched her team rushing to adapt their breakthrough technology for defensive purposes. The quantum field manipulation they had perfected could theoretically create an impenetrable defense system, but they had never intended to use it this way. Dr. Rodriguez, one of her assistants, called out, The defense grid is ready to receive the quantum field protocols. Should we proceed with the upload? Maria looked at the screen showing the Zaxthor fleet movements, then at another displaying Commander Carter's worried face. In just a few hours, their exciting scientific breakthrough might become Earth's first line of defense. The thought made her sad, but she knew they had no choice. Begin the upload, she ordered, and pray we don't have to use it. As the sun set over Earth, 3 separate groups worked frantically to prevent a war. In the council chamber, Susan Mitchell used every diplomatic skill she had to calm the situation. In orbit, Commander Carter prepared Earth's defenses while trying to avoid any action the Zaxthor could see as provocative. And deep underground, Maria Rodriguez and her team raced to protect their world with technology they had created to explore the universe, not fight over it. The warning signs were clear. The next few hours would determine whether humanity's remarkable achievements would lead to peace or become the spark that ignited a galactic war. Kevin Phillips had spent 15 years in Earth intelligence, but he had never seen anything like this. He sat in his dimly lit office at Luna Base, surrounded by holographic screens showing intercepted communications from across the galaxy. His eyes were fixed on one particular message, encrypted with a code that had taken his best systems 3 hours to crack. This can't be right, he muttered, reading the message again. According to the decoded text, someone had carefully planted false evidence about human weapons programs throughout the galaxy. The operation had taken years, and the trail led straight to the Zaxthor Federation. He quickly opened a secure channel to Lisa Warren at the Diplomatic Corps. Her tired face appeared on his screen immediately. Please tell me you have good news, Kevin. I found proof that we're being framed, he said, sending her the decoded files. But there's a problem. The evidence is buried under so many layers of security that it would take days to verify it in a way the Council would accept. Lisa's expression hardened. We don't have days. 6 more Council races cut ties with Earth in the last hour. The Zaxthor are convincing everyone that we're secretly building planet killers. At the Military Research Center in Nevada, Director Daniel Cooper faced a different kind of crisis. His team had just succeeded in creating something revolutionary, a defense system that could redirect energy weapons back at their source. The prototype sat on the testing table before him, a small silver sphere that could change the nature of space warfare forever. "Sir," one of his scientists said, "the test results are clear. This device doesn't just block energy weapons, it catches the energy and sends it back. Nothing like this has ever existed before." Cooper ran his hand through his graying hair. "And that's exactly the problem. If we reveal this technology now, it will look like proof that we've been developing super weapons in secret." His secure phone buzzed. A call from Ambassador Mitchell at the Council. He answered, knowing what she would ask. "Daniel, please tell me the defense project is ready. The Zaxthor just presented evidence claiming we have hidden weapons facilities on Mars." "Susan, we have something better than weapons," he replied. "But using it might make things worse." In the council chamber, the situation was falling apart. Lissa Warren stood beside Ambassador Mitchell as the Zaxthor representative displayed holographic images of supposed human weapon facilities. These images show massive energy signatures beneath the Martian surface, the Zaxthor declared. Signatures that match known planet-destroying weapons. Lisa stepped forward. "Those energy readings are from our terraform project. We're trying to restore Mars' atmosphere, not build weapons." "More lies," another council member shouted, "just like humans lied about their quantum technology." Susan Mitchell felt her diplomatic options slipping away. She had just received Kevin's message about the frame-up, but couldn't use it yet. Unverified intelligence would only make them look more suspicious. Back at Luna Base, Kevin Phillips was running out of time. His systems had detected massive data movements from Zaxthor ships. They were distributing more false evidence to Council worlds. "Start broadcasting on all frequencies," he ordered his team. "Send everything we have about the terraform project. Show them what we're really doing on Mars." But for every piece of truth they broadcast, the Zaxthor seemed to have a carefully crafted lie ready. Kevin watched in frustration as more and more council races turned against Earth. In Nevada, Director Cooper made his decision. He called his team together around the prototype defense system. "Begin mass production," he ordered, "but keep everything underground. If we need this technology, we need it ready fast." "Sir," one of his team members said, "mass producing these units will create energy signatures that satellites can detect. The Zaxthor will see it." "They're already convinced we're building weapons," Cooper replied. "We might as well actually build something to protect ourselves." The tension spread across the solar system. Earth's colonies began reporting suspicious movements of alien ships near their borders. Trade ships from former ally worlds suddenly changed course to avoid Earth vessels. Lisa Warren worked frantically in her office near the council chamber, trying to maintain any diplomatic connection she could. Her screen showed a growing list of races that had suspended relations with Earth. "They're isolating us," she told Kevin over a secure channel. "Cutting us off from allies before." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Before they attack," Kevin completed grimly. "The Zaxthor fleet movements make more sense now. They're not just positioning for defense. They're preparing to strike." In orbit around Earth, defense satellites began picking up unusual energy readings from the direction of Jupiter. The Zaxthor ships were powering up their weapons, but keeping them just below active status, ready to fire at a moment's notice. Director Cooper's team worked through the night, their underground facility humming with activity as they produced more defense units. The silver spheres were lined up in rows, each one capable of turning an enemy's weapons against them. But using them would prove every suspicion about human technological advancement correct. Sometimes, Cooper told his worried team, the only way to prove you're not a threat is to show exactly how powerful you could have been. And choose not to use that power for harm. At Luna Base, Kevin Phillips finally found what he was looking for, a direct communication link between Zaxthor High Command and the agents who had planted the false evidence. But the file was massive, wrapped in layers of quantum encryption. How long to decode it? he asked his best crypto expert. 4 hours, maybe 3 if we use everything we have. Kevin looked at the tactical display, showing the Zaxthor fleet's positions. They'll make their move before then. Start the decode anyway. We'll need the proof later, if there is a later. In the council chamber, Susan Mitchell and Lisa Warren watched as more races aligned themselves with the Zaxthor position. The chamber, once filled with hundreds of representatives, now held barely 50. The others had withdrawn, many already believing war was inevitable. The humans have deceived us all, the Zaxthor representative announced. Their technological advancement is a threat to galactic peace. They must be contained before it's too late. Susan looked at her communication device. Messages from Earth showed their defense systems were ready. Kevin's team was racing to decode the proof of their innocence. Cooper's new defense technology was prepared but unused. Everything humanity had worked for, peaceful advancement, cooperative research, mutual understanding, was balanced on a knife's edge. The next few moments would determine whether humanity would be forced to reveal their true power or find a way to prove their peaceful intentions before the galaxy erupted into war. The attack came without warning. Captain Amanda Foster was patrolling near Europa when her ship's sensors lit up with hundreds of incoming Zaxthor vessels. They emerged from light speed in an attack formation, their weapons already charged. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered, her voice calm despite the situation. Her experimental ship, the Starweaver, hummed to life around her. Enable quantum defense systems. The Zaxthor expected an easy victory. They had attacked Earth's outer colonies first, thinking to find them weak and unprepared. What they found instead was Captain Foster's experimental fleet, hidden in plain sight disguised as regular patrol vessels. Enemy ships firing, her tactical officer reported. Streams of energy weapons lit up space, racing toward the Starweaver and her sister ships. Amanda allowed herself a small smile. Activate quantum shift. The space around her ship seemed to bend. The enemy fire passed through empty space where her ship had been just moments before. The Starweaver and its fleet now existed in a slightly different phase of reality, visible but untouchable. Back on Earth, Richard Martinez sat in the control room of the global defense grid. Screens surrounded him, showing the attacks happening across the solar system. His fingers flew across the control panels, activating Earth's hidden defenses. "All quantum satellites online," he announced to his team. "Linking defensive grid now." Across Earth's orbit, thousands of satellites that had appeared to be simple communication relays revealed their true nature. They connected through quantum links, sharing power and processing capability instantly across vast distances. What had seemed like individual vulnerable points became one massive interconnected shield. "Sir," one of his operators called out, "we're detecting multiple Zaxthor battle groups approaching Earth orbit." Martinez nodded calmly. "Let them come. Activate the Cooper defense system." In the colonies, the battle had already begun. Captain Foster's fleet moved like ghosts through space, appearing and disappearing at will. Each time they reappeared, their weapons struck with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying the enemy ships. "Target their engines and weapons only," Foster ordered her gunners. "We're here to stop them, not start a massacre." The Zaxthor commanders couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their superior numbers meant nothing against ships they couldn't hit. Their advanced weapons were useless against targets that could shift between quantum states. On Earth, Elizabeth Brown coordinated the emergency response from her underground command center. As head of emergency response, she had prepared for this day, but the reality still amazed her. "All civilian populations are secure," she reported to the Central Command. "Quantum bunkers are operational. Defense grid is holding." The Zaxthor fleet arrived in Earth orbit, expecting to find a panicked, vulnerable planet. Instead, they found themselves facing the most advanced defensive system ever created. The first Zaxthor ship to fire at Earth watched in shock as their energy beam was caught by the satellite network, channeled through quantum links, and returned to sender. Their own weapon struck their shields, twice as powerful as when they had fired it. "This is impossible," the Zaxthor admiral transmitted. "No species has this level of technology." In her ship near Europa, Captain Foster received new orders from Earth Command. "Show them what we can really do," the message read. "But remember, we disable, not destroy." "Understood," she replied. "All ships, prepare for synchronized quantum jump." The Starweaver and its fleet vanished completely. For a moment, space was empty. Then Foster's ships reappeared, simultaneously, at 12 different points around the Zaxthor fleet. Each human ship existed in multiple places at once, their quantum field generators allowing them to split reality itself. "Target their command and control systems," Foster ordered. "Careful shots only." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. Human ships danced through quantum states, impossible to hit yet striking with perfect accuracy. Earth's defense grid turned every attack back on the attackers, while protecting the planet with a shield that grew stronger with each impact. In his defense grid control room, Martinez watched the Zaxthor fleet's frustration grow. Every tactic they tried failed. Every weapon they launched was turned against them. And still, not a single Zaxthor ship had been destroyed. "They're pulling back," his tactical officer reported. "All ships in retreat formation." Martinez activated his comm link to Captain Foster. "Status report. 47 enemy ships disabled," she replied. "0 casualties on either side. They're running, but they know now. They know what we can do." Elizabeth Brown's emergency response teams were already moving to help the disabled Zaxthor ships. Human rescue vessels approached carefully, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention Zaxthor vessels. We are here to offer assistance. Your engines are disabled, but your life support is intact. Please allow our teams to help." The response from the Zaxthor ships was confused silence. They had come to destroy these humans, certain of their technological superiority. Instead, they found themselves defeated, yet alive, being offered help by the very people they had attacked. In orbit, the quantum defense grid continued its silent watch. The satellite network hummed with shared power and data, ready to protect Earth from any threat. But its true strength wasn't in its ability to defend. It was in how it had been used to protect without destroying. Captain Foster looked out at the stars from her ship's bridge. The Starweaver's quantum systems were still active, her weapons ready. But they hadn't needed to fire a single killing shot. "Send word to Earth Command," she ordered. "First wave repelled. All human forces intact. Minimal enemy casualties. Standing by for further orders." As rescue operations began, the truth became clear to everyone watching. Humanity hadn't just survived their first major space battle. They had won it without taking a single life. They had revealed technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen, yet used it with a restraint that defied expectations. The question now wasn't whether humans were powerful. The question was what they would do with that power. And by choosing to disable rather than destroy, to rescue rather than abandon, they had already begun to answer it. Commander Peter Collins stood in the control room of his Special Operations Base on Mars, watching as more Zaxthor reinforcements poured through jump points near Saturn. The first attack had failed, but the Zaxthor weren't giving up. Instead, they had called in their entire battle fleet. "They still think we were just lucky," he said to his team. "Time to show them what we can really do." He opened a channel to Laura Davis at the Quantum Systems Lab. "Dr. Davis, is the Fold network ready?" Laura's hands moved quickly over her control panel, making final adjustments to the most powerful technology humans had ever created. "Network is ready, Commander. All quantum nodes are linked and stable." The Fold network was humanity's greatest secret, a system that could bend space itself. They had never used it in battle before. They had hoped they would never have to. "Begin network activation," Collins ordered. "Let's make this quick and clean." In space, the Zaxthor fleet admirals watched their tactical displays with confidence. They had brought 10,000 ships, Surely no power in the galaxy could stand against such force. Then their sensors detected something strange. Space itself seemed to ripple, like waves on a pond. Before they could react, human ships began appearing everywhere at once. Not just in different places, but in multiple places at the same time. Each human vessel existed in 4 or 5 locations simultaneously, linked through quantum space. What had seemed like a small defense force suddenly became an army that surrounded the Zaxthor fleet completely. "Impossible," the Zaxthor admiral shouted. "Their ships can't be in multiple places at once." But they were. And what happened next would be remembered in galactic history forever. Commander Collins' voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Attention, Zaxthor fleet. We have no desire to harm you. Power down your weapons and withdraw. This is your only warning." The Zaxthor responded by opening fire with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space, enough firepower to destroy a planet. Laura Davis, watching from her quantum lab, pressed a single button. "Fold network active," she said quietly. Space folded. The massive barrage of Zaxthor weapons fire disappeared into quantum pockets, emerging behind their own fleet. Not to strike them, but to create a wall of their own energy, trapping them in place. "All ships, begin precision strikes," Collins ordered. "Remember your training. Disable only. No casualties." Human ships, still existing in multiple places at once, began their work. They struck with surgical precision, their quantum-enhanced weapons slicing through shields to disable engines, weapons, and control systems. The Zaxthor fleet, the most powerful armada in known space, found themselves helpless. They couldn't run. Space itself held them in place. They couldn't fight. Their own weapons fire blocked their view. They could only watch as their ships were systematically disabled. In the Strategic Command Center on Earth, Officer Christopher White coordinated the entire operation. His screen showed every human ship, every quantum fold, every disabled enemy vessel. "Status report," he called out to his team. 8,000 enemy ships disabled, came the response. 2,000 powering down voluntarily. No casualties reported on either side. Quantum fold network holding stable. White nodded with satisfaction. "Send in the rescue ships. Let's show them what humanity is really about." Space rippled again as hundreds of human medical and rescue vessels emerged from quantum folds. They approached the disabled Zaxthor ships, broadcasting messages of help and peace. In her lab, Laura Davis monitored the quantum fold network with pride. The technology they had created to explore the universe was instead being used to end a war without bloodshed. The network of quantum nodes, spread throughout the solar system, worked perfectly to maintain the space-time folds. "All rescue teams report ready," she announced to Commander Collins. "The fold network can hold as long as needed." The Zaxthor admiral, watching human rescue ships approach his disabled flagship, finally understood. His fleet, the strongest in the galaxy, had been defeated in less than an hour. Not by superior weapons or brutal force, but by technology so advanced it seemed like magic. And yet, not a single Zaxthor soldier had died. Commander Collins received a message from the admiral. "How long have you had this power?" "Long enough to have destroyed your entire civilization 10 times over," Collins replied honestly. "We chose not to. We choose peace, even when we have the power to choose otherwise." The rescue operation continued through the next several hours. Human medical teams helped injured Zaxthor crew members. Engineering teams helped restore life support to damaged ships. The quantum fold network maintained its hold on space, ensuring no surprises could threaten the peace. Christopher White received reports from across the solar system. The Zaxthor fleet was stood down completely. Their weapons were powered off. Their ships were accepting help. The war that had barely begun was already over. "Send word to the Council," he ordered. "The situation is contained. All Zaxthor forces are safe but disabled. We request an emergency session to discuss peace terms." In her lab, Laura Davis began the process of slowly deactivating the fold network. As each quantum node powered down, space returned to normal. The human ships returned to single points in space. The wall of trapped energy dissipated harmlessly into the void. Commander Collins watched from his command center as the last rescue ships finished their work. What the Zaxthor had intended as a war had become a demonstration, not of humanity's power to destroy, but of their commitment to peace. All ships, return to normal space, he ordered. Maintain defensive positions but power down weapons. Let's show them we mean what we say about peace. The war that should have devastated the solar system had ended without a single death. Humanity had revealed technology that could have destroyed civilizations, but used it only to protect and preserve life. As the reports reached the Galactic Council, the true nature of humanity's power became clear. They weren't dangerous because of their advanced technology. They were powerful because they had the wisdom to use that technology for peace. The Galactic Council chamber was fuller than ever before. Representatives from every spacefaring race had come to witness this historic moment. Gregory Adams, Earth's chief peace negotiator, stood at the center of the chamber, facing not just the council members, but also dozens of holographic displays showing the recent battle. "What you're seeing," he said calmly, "is not just a demonstration of power. It's a demonstration of restraint." The displays showed human ships appearing in multiple places at once, the quantum fold network bending space itself, and most importantly, the careful precision with which they had disabled, rather than destroyed, the Zaxthor fleet. "We could have ended this conflict in many ways," Adams continued. "Instead, we chose the path that preserved all lives." Michelle Turner, Earth's scientific liaison, stepped forward next. Her presentation screens lit up with detailed technical data about human quantum technology. "Everything we've developed," she explained, "was meant for exploration and growth. The quantum fold network was designed to help us study distant stars. The defense grid was created to protect against natural disasters. We adapted them for defense only when we had no other choice." In orbit above Earth, Admiral William Baker supervised as the last of the Zaxthor ships were repaired and prepared for their journey home. His fleet maintained a protective formation, but their weapons remained powered down. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zaxthor flagship." The face that appeared on his screen was the same Zaxthor admiral whose fleet they had defeated days before. But now, instead of hostility, his expression showed something like wonder. "Admiral Baker," the Zaxthor said, "my crew is ready to depart. But first, I must know, why did you spare us? With your technology, you could have ruled the galaxy long ago." Baker smiled. "Because that's not who we are. Power doesn't have to corrupt. Technology doesn't have to destroy. We choose what we become." Back in the council chamber, Gregory Adams was showing more evidence, records of dozens of times when humanity could have used their technology for conquest, but chose cooperation instead. 3 years ago, he said, we developed the ability to create stable wormholes. We could have used them to bypass every defense system in the galaxy. Instead, we shared the research with our allies to improve trade routes. 2 years ago, we mastered quantum energy manipulation. We could have built weapons to destroy entire star systems. Instead, we used it to help terraform dead worlds and clean up space debris. Michelle Turner's screens now showed something new, plans for sharing human technology safely with other races. "We're not here to dominate," she explained. "We're here to help everyone grow together. Our quantum technology can improve lives across the galaxy, if you'll let us show you how." In his office on Mars, Commander Collins watched the council session while reviewing reports from the recent conflict. Every disabled Zaxthor ship had been repaired. Every injured crew member had been treated. They had won without a single casualty on either side. His computer chimed with a message from Laura Davis. "The quantum fold network is ready to be reconfigured for its original purpose, exploration. Should we begin?" "Yes," he replied. It's time to go back to doing what we do best, pushing the boundaries of knowledge, not testing the limits of power. The council chamber grew quiet as the Zaxthor representative stood to speak. Everyone expected accusations or demands. Instead, he bowed his head. "We attacked humanity because we feared their power," he admitted. "We were wrong. They are powerful not because of their technology, but because of how they choose to use it." Admiral Baker watched from his command ship as the Zaxthor fleet finally departed. Each repaired ship flashed its running lights in a pattern he recognized. A military salute of respect. "Safe journey," he transmitted to them. "Next time, come as friends. We have so much we can learn from each other." Gregory Adams concluded his presentation with one final piece of evidence: the original plans for human quantum technology. Every major breakthrough had been aimed at exploration, discovery, or protection. Even their most powerful weapons had been designed with safeguards to prevent loss of life. "Humanity stands ready to share our knowledge," he said, "not as conquerors or rulers, but as partners in growth. We have the power to reshape the galaxy. We choose to use that power to bring people together, not drive them apart." The council's response was unprecedented. One by one, representatives stood to vote. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would not only be fully accepted into the galactic community, but would lead a new council dedicated to sharing advanced technology safely among all races. Michelle Turner's final presentation showed the possibilities. Quantum networks linking distant worlds, clean energy powering entire civilizations, space itself bent to serve exploration and discovery rather than war. "This is just the beginning," she told the council. "Imagine what we can achieve together." In orbit, Admiral Baker received the council's decision with quiet satisfaction. His fleet began powering down their defensive systems, returning to their primary mission of exploration and discovery. On Mars, Commander Collins and Laura Davis started the process of converting their military installations back to research centers. The Quantum Fold network would now connect scientists and explorers instead of warships. And in the council chamber, Gregory Adams shook hands with the Zaxthor representative, sealing not just peace but a new understanding between their peoples. "We look forward to working with you," the Zaxthor said, "not as rivals or enemies, but as partners in building a better galaxy." Adams smiled. "That's all we ever wanted. Not to rule, not to dominate, but to show that the greatest power isn't in the strength of our weapons or the advancement of our technology. It's in the wisdom to use that power for the good of all." As the council session ended, ships from 100 worlds lit up the sky above Earth, not in battle formation, but in celebration. Humanity had proved themselves not just powerful beyond comprehension, but wise beyond expectation. The war that never was had ended. The peace that could be had begun. And throughout the galaxy, people looked to the stars not with fear of humanity's power, but with hope for what that power could help them all achieve together.